Breaking them down, tearing them up, I just can't get enough, just can't get enough.
What is up, everybody? I wanted to take a couple minutes here to go over some 3D printing with everybody here. As you can hear, I got it going in the background back here with my new printer. So I have a Elegoo Saturn 3 resin printer that I think is amazing for quite a few things, but I just want to show some examples of different things and kind of talk about a couple things that you may or may not know. So this is a print that I had done. So just let me show you the front of it. Looks pretty good, right? Get the side kind of jacked up a little bit, but in the back and on the side too. This is done in a resin printer, but look at the detail on it. The detail is amazing, you know, besides the little support piece in the front there that I forgot to clear out. So the detail is really good. That's what you want to use a resin printer for. The back didn't print very well at all. It cut off a bunch on the bumper and the sides, but overall didn't look terrible, right? I could use it as a functional piece. So this is going to go on one of my mini crawlers, kind of, you know, like that, and then you get these little pieces here that connect to the little chassis pieces. This is all done resin printer. Very good, right? Kind of. I think it'll be hard enough to, you know, use if I really wanted to use it, maybe like as a jacked up kind of truck here with, you know, shit on the side here where I got all jacked up. Now this is done on my Creality K2, the new printer that I got, and I did it with silk. Looks pretty good, right? Except for this right here, which I burn it with the little soldering iron that I like to kind of remove imperfections. That's another trick I'll talk about here in a minute. Back here on the side and right there. Let me show you that first. That's supposed to say Chevrolet. And the bottom here is supposed to be kind of like a wood grain effect or whatever. Didn't print so well. Front, printed okay. Not too bad, right? The reason that this print did not turn out so well, it's all about supports. I had my supports in the wrong area, didn't think about it, started printing, and that's ultimately what happened on that side and over here. So when I tried to remove their supports, you know, it just kind of got nasty. You can see how rough it is. Maybe I get the camera to focus a little bit here. There we go. Come on. So what you can do, even on this piece here, you can sand it down, clean it up pretty good. Even with the burn mark I got over here, I got it too hot. Whatever, I don't care about it. You know, again, I can use this for a functional piece, and I can use it as a backup, a basher type body, you know, whatever. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna do it again. And these are the clip pieces with no supports, printed out very well. And I'll just show you the back first. This is the back, and again, this is printed in silk PLA. Had a little problem with the support right there, but not too much. Now here's the kicker. Chevrolet. You can definitely 100% tell what that says, and you can see the wood grainy effect that's supposed to be on the bumper, because it's supposed to be like a wooden bumper kind of thing there. Wow. Okay, I got a print done. This is the front of it. Printed pretty good, right? Not too bad. The only thing that I do not like about this one, let's see if you can tell on here. See where it's got like this little line? It's got like a phasing line. Now, that's all in your settings, and I'm kind of new to Creality Print, but I think they call that like phasing or stringing or whatever the hell it is. I don't have any stringing, obviously, so it's not that. So I got to figure out kind of how to set that. But I mean, even in the parts that had support, it printed very well. So I did manual supports on this, and I just decided myself where to put everything. I printed it upside down like this, and I put supports on the inside. And I think I had a couple on the outside, on the inside here too, and I think I had a couple on the outside here. And back here, there's a little bit of stuff to remove still. Not terrible. Pretty easy to remove, actually. I'm just going to take my hobby knife, this one right here, and I'm going to shave it down and be good to go. Now, another thing I want to show you is I used to have a Creality Ender 3 S1 Pro or something like that. I'd since gotten rid of that one. You know, I just figured it was time for an upgrade. I got me a Creality K2. I'll show you that here in just a minute. But let me show you the differences in those two machines on what they print. So I'm going to turn you around here so you can see what those are. So now these are pieces I've been working on by Crawler Park or whatever they're called. So you'll notice they interlock together with like these little tabs. These go together pretty decent, but they're kind of hard to put together. You know, the tolerance isn't real great, and I had to scale them down to 93% just to get it to fit on the Creality bed on the Ender 3. So I did the same thing when I printed one on the K2, which I'm very impressed with the K2, as you can already tell. This is what the one printed like on the K2. Printed awesome. And no, this is not paint. This is Overture Stone PLA, I think is what they call it. I printed it real thin, as you can see right there. This part here, I didn't have supports on it, so that part had a little bit of kind of like messed up area, so I just kind of took it out. I'm going to leave those as holes anyway. I think it looks good. So watch how easy this connects though. I just kind of line it up. So other side lined up over here. Bam. And bam. There you go. This is my new printer setup. So this is the Creality K2. It's a Core XY machine, and I've got multicolor print now. I've got my PETG set up on the side, which I don't have it connected right now. It's got a nice cabinet, and the build place, or the builds plate or whatever, is a little bit bigger than the old one. It's 260 by 260 by 260. Now the Ender 3 I think has 225, 225, 225, something like that. Yeah, so it's one of those things that you get a little bit bigger of a print area, and I think it's kind of nice, honestly. It's a little bit of a louder machine. It's not a Bamboo Lab or any of that jazz. You know, I know a lot of people like those. Those are great too, but this is what I decided to go with. So it prints very well for what I'm doing. Something else I'll say before we move on to the other printer here that I like. So let's say you get like poop or whatever they call it, you know, your leftover stuff that you print in the bottom of your tray here. Well, some of them have like a lip and stuff on the bottom. The reason I chose this one was not only the price, was just the fact that I could just scoop this stuff right out of here and I could put it in my little pile for poop. This right here is my Elegoo Saturn. Let me take the cover off here and I'll show you the inside of it. Alright, so this is my Elegoo Saturn. It has gotten a lot of work here recently. It's a Saturn 3. There's your resolution. It's pretty easy to print on this thing here. It prints on the build plate over there. When it goes down into the resin, you have a UV light underneath this tray there that basically makes the print. Kind of hard to describe. I'm not real technical when it comes to that stuff, but it prints very well. I got a lot of really good prints off of it, like all the gray type prints over there. Those are all made on that machine, and they print really well, like the Alien Queen right there. Printed really nice. But here's something else. These are all printed on the Creality K2. I mean, it's just a different type of print, and I mean, for an FDM printer, Core XY, I mean, that's amazing to me. I mean, it definitely helped me step my game up a little bit. Now, I've been doing 3D printing for quite some time now. I print a lot of different things. I have functional type parts like this. This isn't one that I printed, but I mean, this is for a big fifth scale, you know, what you see in the background back there. I've printed stuff for those. I actually have them I have one of these arms on one of these cars. I don't remember which one, that I've been running for quite a while, and I beat my cars pretty good. I try not to tear them up, but I play with them. So that's what I got them for. I do a lot of printing for my micros down here. The new stuff I'm printing right now, sorry, out of frame here, is for my other little micros down there. Trying to get a little body options for them because there's not a whole lot for them right now. So that's kind of what I'm doing here with the 3D printing. And so let's talk a little bit about stuff like the supports, for example. Anytime you do default supports, you're going to get whatever the machine decides to give you. If you just look online, look at a couple examples, read a couple things or whatever, you'll find out that manual supports is always the best way to go. Anytime you get the welding effect, which is where your supports are too, it's almost like they bond to the print themselves. Basically what you need to do is either change the type of print, type of support that you're using, the infill that you're using for them, or you can actually manually go in on the STL file and create a little break. You can use something like FreeCAD or Tinkercad, or something that's free, or if you're more advanced, use Autodesk Fusion 360 or whatever. You can even do it on Blender if you know how to do it on Blender. There's a lot of different ways to do it. I wouldn't be afraid of that. These printers nowadays are pretty forgiving, so you don't really have to worry too much about like, oh, I'm going to damage this or that. As long as you got all your calibration and stuff set, you might have failed prints, but you're not really going to damage anything, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Now, another thing I hear a lot of is, because I sell custom prints and stuff, it's kind of one of the things that I do on the side. And I have a lot of people ask me, like, well, how much can you make doing that, all this stuff. Here's the general idea. And I'll tell you what I've made on the Ender 3 when I had it. So if you want to sell prints, a typical range for a typical FDM print, which is regular PLA, you're not using PETG, just regular PLA, you're going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 to $3 an hour, a print hour. And what that means is, let's say you have this print here and it says it's going to take 4 hours. Okay, 4 print hours would be, let's say you're using $2, 2, 4, 6, 8, that'd be $8 plus your materials plus taxes. If you want to include electricity and do all the math and stuff on that, that's fine. For something like this, I generally sell something like this for like $10. I don't try to go too crazy and get real meticulous and try to make a ton of money off of it. Just enough to support my habit, basically, and buy the materials and stuff like that. And I usually do pretty well. I had an Etsy store there for a really long time. I recently just restarted it because Etsy kind of pissed me off. Etsy they're real funny about like their gun policies and intellectual properties and stuff like that. So I had some Punisher hand stops. They're foregrips. I did have hand stops too, but so I was doing like gun accessories, and I was making a ton of money on that. When I first got my printer, the first year I did it, I made over $6,000 just on the side. I paid $150 for this printer. I mean, I didn't expect it to even do that good, and I was just doing it on the side, and I just kind of, was selling what was up on the store. I didn't do any custom prints at that point. Then I decided I was going to do some custom stuff. I was having some problems with the listings getting removed and stuff like that. Well, finally they removed all my listings indefinitely related to guns because it's part of their gun policy. And then I've heard one of them, I had like the Punisher skull on there, and Disney, this and that, whatever. You can't use intellectual rights. Okay, that part I understand. I didn't even think about that. Okay, my bad. But the gun stuff drives me nuts because there's tons of gun related items on Etsy. They're very funny about what you can sell. And it doesn't mean it's a bad place to buy anything. It's just, watch your P's and Q's on there. So long story short, I got into doing custom work, and I'll go long periods without getting anything, and then I'll get something, hey, can you make this for me? $200, $300, whatever. Okay, and I'm still making about the same. This past year, 2025, I don't think I made a couple $100. I didn't really do much. I started my current job that I'm at now, which is a batch plant manager for it's a concrete company, but they do, what is it that they do? They do precast. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Anyway, so I manage the trucks, and I also help drive and do all that kind of stuff, and take care of the plant, order parts, and blah blah blah, all this other managerial crap. And so it took me a little bit of time to kind of settle into that job. So I'm just now starting to get back into custom work, and I've already got quite a bit of interest. And if things go well in the next month or so, just in a month, I'm probably going to make somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,000 on the side. And that's printing things like this. I recently did a Freddy Krueger, and I've done like an Egyptian sword type thing. I did that one on the old FDM printer, and I did a Gambit piece, which I still have the Gambit piece. I made two of them. One of them I sold, and one of them I kept. And I made a Venom, Punisher, and something else. But that's all just recently, since the beginning of the year here. So I've had some of this stuff sitting on my shelf for a while, and you've seen it probably in some of my videos and stuff. And then I guess that's where people had seen it, and they wanted to, hey, how much would you charge me for this, that, whatever. And my new approach on all that stuff is, because of all the intellectual rights and properties, and you can't sell this and that and da 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 da. Okay, I'm not even going to screw with any of that, so I just make everybody send me their file. So if they get me the file, I can do the work for them, and that's what I charge for. I charge for the work. So if anybody's interested in doing that, I would suggest you follow a similar pattern, because it's going to get real sticky with all these places like Thingiverse and stuff. They have things up there that is not their right to put up there, and Thingiverse makes you do, well, they kind of gear it towards the Creative Commons license, which basically means that you can download it for free most of the time, but you got to like give props, like, hey, this person made this or whatever, whatever you do. Okay, that's all cool and everything. It's a great idea, but you're still getting stuff like Star Wars stuff. You're getting Marvel stuff, all kinds of things like that you don't have the rights for the intellectual properties to be able to sell them. And let me tell you, as a person that's been trying to get this for probably 5 years from Disney, you're not going to get a rights. They don't do them. You can fill out the paperwork, you can call them, you can send them emails, whatever. I've done it all, and I've got 0 responses. I'm going to do these more often so I can kind of share what I've learned, and I encourage anybody else to put in the comments things that you've learned or whatever. We'll just make a big powwow out of it, because there's so many things related to 3D printing that you can do. And even if you're doing it for yourself, you can 100%, make your own Disney characters, whatever. It's the selling part of it that you got to worry about. So I want to show you one more thing here. So some of the filaments I like to buy, I got hooked up with this one called Eryone. It's Eryone. And let me just show you some of the filaments that they have here. They have so many that you can choose from now. I mean, just look at all that. And these aren't even all the options that they offer. And this is just your PLA. I mean, well, I'm sorry, I guess they do have PETG on here too. PETG, black standard, they got carbon fiber, glow in the dark stuff, rainbow, Let's see if I can find that one that I have on here. Okay, I don't have that one on here, but it is a stone look, and right here they have a marble one, which I wanted to try. I haven't done that one yet. This is my prototype piece that I was going to give to my niece, but she decided she didn't want it. So I don't know if you can see the seam in there or not, but there's a seam that runs down the center here. So what I was doing was I was kind of messing with techniques on how to glue it together from the inside, and I was going to take, which I haven't really done anything with it in a while, because I kind of like the way it looks, the way it is. I was going to take and put some heat on it and use some filler, which I've got a couple different kind of fillers here. This is the one that I like to use now. It's just regular modeling paste. This stuff works really good. As you see, it's just like a little liquidy kind of pasty stuff. You know, obviously it's paste. Duh. Anyway, you just kind of, in this case here, you would take it along the seam and you just kind of rub it in there. You can use your finger. That's what I usually do. Use your finger, and then when it dries, you can either sand it down or wipe it down a little bit before it dries, and you get, you know, just a crack. I usually take a paintbrush. I have like an assortment of like 40 paintbrushes, and I'll take and I'll brush it in there or brush it out or whatever when it gets close to being dry, so that way whatever's in the seam stays there, and when it dries, you can't even tell the difference. It's amazing. I love it. But yeah, this is part of a skull. Ended up doing a bigger piece for the guy, and it was like yay big. I think I had 1, 2, 3. I think I had 4 or 5 sections in there, and I was gonna paint it for him, but he actually didn't want it painted, and I charged $50 for that. So that was a quick, little, easy. I say quick, but for me, you know, something I didn't have to do is kind of like a quick buck. I printed a lot of times when I was at work, so I would start to print and just go to work, you know, because I could trust the printer. I printed it slow, and you know, just while I was doing something else. So I printed all the pieces, glued them all together, and I used a little bit of the paste and stuff there. It came out really, really good. He was so happy with it that he didn't even want it painted, because originally he was going to have me do some shadowing and stuff on it, you know, to kind of like bring out the dark textures and stuff, which I'm okay at, but I'm not great at it. So I'm kind of glad he didn't go that route, because sometimes my work, when it comes to like the artsy stuff, it sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. So, you know, and I know that too, but I wouldn't have sold it to him if it was bad. So I would have had a lot of wasted time there. Again, we're going to start doing this and just see where it lands. So appreciate everybody watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.